Ladies and gentlemen, do I even need to do an intro for this? You probably already noticed it. You could spot this from a mile off. This is the brand new chassis from Hyte. This is the X50. And I was going to do a bit about how cases are a little bit boring and it takes quite something to kind of really catch your attention. This one definitely does that. As I say, it's called the X50. It comes in a few different versions actually. You've got one that has tempered glass on the side and is actually quite cleverly curved here at the top. Looks pretty cool. And you can get the whole suite in a range of colors as well. So this one is their cherry red. It has this kind of like glossy finish. A lot of them I think are more of a matte finish. When I last saw them was at Computex and it was still work in progress. And I've been excited for this video not only to check it out, but also just to build something that I think is just going to look awesome. Like usually we have the constraints of it must be at the perfect budget, everything must make sense. Whereas today we're just going for pretty much the craziest and best looking build we can do. It's going to be awesome, so stay tuned as we start our build in this and actually let you know whether the new X50 is any good right after a short word from this video sponsor. Intel's Core Ultra series of CPUs are an affordable way to work and play, with the Intel Core Ultra 5 and Ultra 7 offering accessible prices that offer fantastic value for money. Intel's Core Ultra combines performance cores with efficient cores, giving gamers the power to play their favourite titles at night and cruise through workloads by day. Not only this, but if you buy a qualifying Intel Core Ultra product, you can also get yourself a copy of either Battlefield 6, Civilization 7, Dying Like the Beast, or Assassin's Creed Shadows for free. Learn more about what Intel can do for you today with the link down below. So then, the X50, let's take a closer look and actually get this thing opened up. And I'm going to start by saying that I have already... Does this just lift up? Yes, okay, a little bit tight. I expected that to be really smooth. It looks as if it should be. Oh wow, but look at that already. The paint is already starting to come off this case. Now this was always going to be one of the compromises by going for like a thicker, glossy paint like this, but I'll be honest, I did not expect it to start coming off immediately. I mean, the warning sign was when I took this out of the box, and there's actually, look, a little bit of paint on the glass itself. I haven't removed any like plastic sheeting or covers, there wasn't any. Maybe this is just because it's the review sample, but I would guess that this is the same as the ones you would be ordering. But I mean, that has kind of affected my mood a little bit, I'll be honest already. So you can see that it's missing a bit of paint here and along the sides. I don't think a case, especially one that cost about $150, should do this. I mean, all I did was take it apart. Hopefully that isn't gonna happen when we spin this round to the other chamber. But once again, that lifts up. And then, okay, that seems to have come off a lot better. Doesn't look like there's any chips or any marks on that piece, which is nice. But again, it is a very thick paint. So in a way, I'm kind of not surprised. One of the things they were telling me as well, is that chip? No, it's a bit of fluff. One of the things they were telling me at Computex was obviously just how hard it is to make a case like this, because you have loads and loads of different ways, essentially, of kind of bending and punching holes in a sheet of, I was going to say glass, a sheet of metal like this. But a lot of them don't work, and a lot of them don't work on the scales or the costs that you actually need to achieve with a case like this. So the fact that they've been able to do it and have, as I say, a finish that actually looks really, really good is applaudable, as long as it is going to last. This should come off nice and easily. Everything's falling apart. And you have these kind of screws that will just push into the case itself. Quality on the inside of this also looks good, doesn't look like there's any marks, so maybe I just got unlucky, but this is quite cool. This is adjustable, so you put your front fans in here. You don't necessarily need any, but you put your front fans in here and then it stops it from going into the main chamber to give yourself extra room for large GPUs, or obviously if you're going to put like a really thick radiator and like fans on either side or something, then it just gives you that little bit more room. But if you did want to have this completely flush, then you can move this in a little bit. It again just comes down to personal preference and obviously the build that you're going for. But full size ATX here. If you have eATX, it will start to kind of overspill here, which might look a little bit weird. I'm going to show some footage from the NZXT H6 where this happened. And this is kind of like that hybrid dual chamber design. So it's a little bit wider than a normal case, depending on the one that you get, but then that does give you just a little bit of extra room here, and you can see that the power supply, rather unusually for 2025 and 26, will actually go at the top rather than the bottom. But you can see loads of space here. You can put a hard drive in here. Obviously you can put 2.5-inch drives and any hubs and things that you might be able to fit. Cable management is quite cool on this. You have these little grommets here, you've got these channels, but then there's also a cable management bar right in the corner here, look. In terms of airflow, you probably already noticed that it doesn't come with any fans as standard. They will actually sell some matching color-coded fans on the Hyte website. They've sent a few out. We've got some red ones here. Personally, I think these were probably going to look best on the front, which is what we are going to do. But obviously you can put anything here, and you've got 360, 360, 360, or 120 on the back. It's a shame that it doesn't support 140s, especially on the front, because that kind of looks as if you would have enough room, but I guess it's just clearance with all of the curvature. So if you wanted the quietest rig possible, you're probably looking at a different case that you can fit 140s or larger, but obviously, assuming you tune them, I can almost guarantee you could get a really nice quiet rig out of this. Of course, in order to actually test this, we are gonna have to get a build done. So what I wanted to do here today was a little bit of a different theme. Obviously, it's red and white, so it's kind of like an all-white rig inside a red case. Today, we're going for B850. This is actually a reasonably priced board. You can get this, I think, for just over £200, which is still a lot of money, but for what you get, I think it's actually pretty reasonable. You can buy like a higher end X870 version of this if you wanted more bandwidth, more features, potentially more ports. But for most people, I think this is going to be absolutely fine. And you've got this pure white PCB as well, which is cool. Now, in terms of the CPU that we're going for, this is an 8-core chip. This is a Ryzen 7 9700X. Let's drop this down into our rig. Then we can move on to our RAM, and RAM price is all over the place at the moment. And I imagine this is very expensive at the time of filming. This is a white kit from G-Skill. Obviously, it's going to go perfectly with the board and with our case. If you can get yourself a deal on like a C36 and it's significantly cheaper, then that may well be worth the money. Then we'll obviously need some storage. This is from Samsung. It is a 990 Pro. Drop this in, place that back, and get it secure. But what is this going to look like? Catches our board nicely. Oh no, I just realized the screws at the other side. I do this every video. Oh, and I'll tell you what, that is a weighty hard drive caddy, isn't it? Yeah. It's nice to see that this comes with labeled screws, which of course you can use to get this safe and secure. And then, ladies and gentlemen, it is the moment of truth time. Has this theme worked? Yeah, I think so far so good. I mean, it looks a little bit empty because obviously there's only a board here, but I think once you've populated all of the fans and obviously got our GPU in, I think this is really going to work. I was a little bit nervous, but actually I think red and white is a pretty good color scheme. Although actually it's the English flag. That's probably why. So we've got these new kind of performance fan frames, look. They're the F360Xs, and these can be used either with their bespoke software if you want to go down the hub route, or an NZXT motherboard, or you can just use the Maz's with a standard motherboard. And you might be wondering, what about the front? Personally, I just think it might look a little bit odd to have white fans shining through here, or not shining if you don't have the RGB on, which is why I do also want to use the red fans on the front from, almost said NZXT, from Hyte. And hopefully that combination is going to look great from the front and of course from the side. Like me. Oh no, PC Centric, need to eat a burger, mate. I mean, there's the underside. We do have a dust filter there. This just removes. Wow, I haven't seen that warning before. High velocity fan, keep hands away. Don't mess with NZXT. Right, they fit, that's good. Oh, that's magnetic. Let's take this cable management bar out, shall we, and see what that reveals. That should probably come as no surprise to you that it reveals some cables, look. There they are. But now let's check out our red fans. Well, they're fans, and they're red. Right, okay, let's fast forward a little bit, because I've run into a little bit of a snag, and I don't really understand why it's like this. So let's go over these fans again, right? We've got the 3 that I've just put in here at the front. Fantastic.
Literally.
But the cables have to somehow get from here to here, and you'd naturally think there's a couple of options, right? In most cases, it would kind of just go either in this corner or like it is here underneath, tuck round, and then you plug it in.
Fantastic.
But actually trying to access this looks to be very difficult unless that just comes out. I really don't think it does. I think I'll break it if I try and remove that. So how am I to now access these cables that I'm trying to feed through here? Bear in mind, you can't get to it from any angle. The alternative really would be to kind of go up and through, which is obviously going to work for the top fans.
My head's not in frame anymore, sorry.
Which of course would make perfect sense because there is actually a little channel that goes from here to the main chamber, except that it doesn't because you've got this end cap here and this does not remove either. Why is it like that? You've literally got this channel that you could, in theory, run cables through here, but instead you're going to have to drill a hole in this in order to just feed a few cables through, which is bizarre. So if you want to put fans on the front of this, it's either going to be very messy or you're going to need a lot of extensions and a lot more time than it should otherwise take. Oh, but we did get there in the end. Just one double extension and I've got it fitted to the motherboard, but I just want to double check that this will go back on. Yes, there we go. I mean, actually, while I'm here, I might as well plug in all of our I/O. And because I want this to be a properly stylish build, I'm going to break the usual rules of getting the same radiator with the same fans, because at the moment it doesn't exist. So I've got another pack of the F360Xs with this warning sticker that I've added myself, and we're going to replace the ones on this Montech Hyperflow ARGB 360. I think actually the fans might be more expensive than this whole cooler array. How ridiculous is that? I mean, if you do want to check out current pricing on anything that we're using here today, you can find all of our affiliate links listed down below. And at this point, ladies and gentlemen, I do know that I am going to be upsetting some people.
Sorry.
I mean, I think I'd upset people no matter what I did at this stage, but I would usually want to have the tubes down the bottom like this, just so any air that collects in the radiator kind of stays at the top rather than like being fed back into the loop. But I'm going for the best looking gaming PC possible today, so I'm breaking the rules and I am having the tubes at the top instead. But regardless, let's get this screwed and fitted down, and then this cable needs to feed under here. Oh, again. Oh, and it is clearly doable, but as I say, if there was just some way of seeing it, it would be so much easier. Is this bar gonna go back on properly now? Yes, but I haven't really utilized it at all because none of the cables are actually going into it, but hey ho. At least we had a look at it together, didn't we? But you can see, obviously, that's a lot neater now. What do you think so far? It's certainly different, isn't it? I will also say as well that this does rock a little bit, and I know you're going to blame that on my desk, but normally everything, including the desk, wobbles, whereas if I hold the desk still, look, still a bit wobbly. And then quite a large pea-sized amount. Then, of course, it is literally just a case of lining it up on the bottom one, matching up the other, and then obviously grab the screwdriver for the big finish. Oh, and if my calculations have been correct, that should mean we now have a lovely red and white rig. Obviously, the graphics card needs to go in here, and that's white as well, so it's really going to finish it off. But I think I've made the right decision here. And then we can spin around and show you the cable management that I kind of been working on. In some ways, it's quite good because you've got quite a lot of chambers and areas to put cables. But the thing that has annoyed me a little bit is that there aren't actually any, well, there's tie-down points, but there's not any like pre-fitted kind of cable straps or anything over here, which means you will have to add your own cable ties and things, which isn't a big deal, but I don't really get why if you've got some here, you don't have them there. I think on a case that costs 150 quid, they could have done a little bit more with this, to be honest, but it's fine. Just be aware that any white cables that you get down here are going to be visible in the completed rig, so try and keep everything a little bit raised. And again, if they'd thought about this and kind of blocked it off a bit, I think it would have been better, but it's not like a huge criticism. Oh, actually, this has been a bit of a long one, but we are almost there because it's just graphics card and power supply to go. And we're going with the whitest card I had, which is an RX 9070. Obviously, you can go a little bit higher end and get the XT, but Team Red build kind of made sense. And obviously, as we're going for white, this was naturally going to be the correct choice. But a 9070 is really good value these days, actually. Classic AMD, when this first launched, it was a little bit too close in price to the 9070 XT. That's their own card. They were competing against each other. But now that the price is kind of normalized a little bit, you can often find that this just offers fantastic value for money, really. There we go. Boom. And then that pushes in like that. What do you think? White, red, white, red. It's a bit different, but that's precisely the point of what we're trying to do. Right then, ladies and gentlemen, we are now pretty much ready to rock and roll. The final piece of the puzzle is, of course, the power supply, and again, I wanted to go for white, mainly for the white cables. This is brand new from Corsair, actually. It's the RM850E. But let's get all of our cables connected, and then it really should just be a case of spinning this around one final time, picking up our PSU, and then I guess just dropping this into position. It's quite a big chamber, so even if you go for a really high-end supply, you should be okay. Obviously, do make sure that your fan is facing downwards though. Not in every build, just in this one. Then we can get this fitted and secure, feed all of the cables through to their respective positions. Oh, and actually, because this power supply is right at the top, I don't have enough reach, look, to actually get this to go to the graphics card from the underneath, which is what I would want to do. So that's one of the compromises, as well as the fact that the physical cord is going to be up here as well. So you might have to buy a longer power cord just to reach your PC. So I see what they've done. I like that it's bold, but actually, yeah, I prefer the power supply to be at the bottom. Well, all of our power cables will just have to be friends, won't they? And all come through this one hole. Doesn't look fantastic yet though, does it? I'll sort that out in a bit. Instead, for now, let's just plug in our ATX and then finish up with our CPUs. Right, okay, I think that is it. Ladies and gentlemen, bar the terrible bodge job that I've done on that GPU cable that I will fix in a second for the B-roll, we are done. What do you think? It's definitely a little bit different. Whenever your friends come over, especially if they're PC gamers, they are going to comment,
What on earth is that?
I've never seen anything so out there in my life, but I live a very sheltered life. It's definitely very cool. There's no doubt about it. It's not for everyone, but it definitely is very cool. Oh, and here is our OLED monitor. If you do want to watch the full OLED guide, actually, that we've done for 2025 to make sure you get the best OLED monitor and explains all of the ins and the outs, you can find that video in the top right corner of your screen. And then, of course, last but certainly not least, we're going to need a keyboard and a mouse, and you know it, you love it, the absolutely beautiful PC-centric mouse mat, now in its final clearance sale. Get this while you still can for Black Friday. Priced, I believe, at $9.99 plus shipping. And I'll be very upfront and honest about it. Unfortunately, the shipping is probably now more expensive than the mouse mat because it's air shipped, which is really annoying. But when you think that this was selling for well over $20, it's a massive discount and you're gonna love it. The quality and the colors, it's just so appealing. Get it with a link down below. And then of course, the pièce de la résistance. I think I said that right. We have our tempered glass, which is going to be a fingerprint magnet. I think we know that at this stage. It kind of isn't as smooth as it should be. It looks like, and if you get it perfect, it is, but it doesn't kind of self-guide itself into place like you'd find on something like that, forgotten its name, Haven HS420. That's kind of got rollers and it just gently kind of slides into place. Would have been good to see something like that here. But anyway, enough faff, let's do this. And it works. We have fans spinning, and I think this is going to be really loud because those are performance fans. We will have to tune those. But there you are. I don't think rainbow RGB is going to be the best bet for this rig. I think that looks a little bit like sick, to be honest, at the moment. But you might be into sick. Each their own, right? I mean, sod it. Let's just cut to B-roll and properly show this off because it really is a proper showpiece rig. I cannot wait to see what other people do with it, especially if you're going to go down like a hardline liquid cooled route. I honestly think this is one of the best looking cases I've seen in a long, long time. And obviously because you can get it in a whole range of colors, it really can be unique to you. It's not just relying on RGB for all of its flair. Yes, new CPU installed. Let's jump into some games and actually look at some temperatures and some acoustics. Oh, and ladies and gentlemen, after a spot of yesterday's lunch, chicken noodles, not bad, here we are all set up and ready to go. And I thought for a bit of a laugh, the game that we're going to use is very stressful on both the CPU and the GPU, but it's Dragon Age the Veilguard, everyone's favorite. I haven't played this in almost a year. And as you can see, we're getting around about 89 to 90 frames a second at the moment, which is not bad for this GPU. Bear in mind, it's running at ultra settings. It has ray tracing, but it's on selective, so only bits of the game will be ray traced. And it's not always that obvious to know which bits are and which bits aren't, but generally speaking, obviously if you turn it on max RT, your frame rate is going to go down. But around about 90 frames a second in what is a very demanding game, as I say, on both the GPU and the CPU. We'll let this warm up for a second. At the moment, we're sitting around about 55 degrees on both the GPU and the CPU. I expect it will go up, but it's worth bearing in mind that I have tuned this system, right? I think what I would do if I was building this rig again would probably be just to save the money and just take these fans off the front, because I don't really think you're going to necessarily need them, and it will massively improve the look of your chassis. I don't like the fact that you've got these rails kind of either side and you can see through. Take that whole thing out, I think it will look better. And obviously if you decide that you do need extra fans, you can add them at a later date and it's not made any difference to you other than saving you some money initially. And I think the whole thing really does look fantastic. It really does kind of achieve what it set out to do. But unfortunately, I am pretty disappointed because when we go back to the first time that I did take this side panel off, sure enough, I have actually damaged the paint on the bit that you can see. It was annoying that it obviously was happening on the catch that's kind of underneath the glass and you're never going to see anyway. I still don't think it should do that, but it obviously doesn't make that much difference. But the fact that I was that easily, and alright, I actually read the manual, so I knew how this opened and closed. The fact that I was able to chip the paint on this straight away, as someone that does obviously build a lot of computers, it doesn't really bode well for your average consumer, really. It's probably a mixture of tolerances and just the mechanism and the design of the way it goes in. There's just too much chance, if you like, of you kind of just scraping the paint away. And obviously you can touch this up, but when have I ever made a video on this channel saying,
oh, the case was great, but it's a shame that the paint chipped away?
It just doesn't really happen. It's not something that I'm used to seeing. And the alarm bells obviously did go off when I took this out of the box and there were just bits of paint pre-attached to the glass. So I'm disappointed on that front, but not disappointed enough not to recommend this, purely because there's not really that many options out there that have this look, have this styling. So if you are willing to build a system like this, I kind of think, whilst it is definitely very annoying and we would much rather that it wasn't a problem, if you're super, super careful and when you take it off, just consciously in your head think, right, I need to not touch the side or the paint will come off, you will probably have more luck than I did. And I will say that I am talking to Hyte about this. At the end of the video, I'll start like an email chain and see what I can do. Because if they can do a rolling revision to this and kind of acknowledge potentially that there is an issue here, fix it, then obviously it'll be a lot easier to recommend. If you've got one of these, again, let us know down in the comment section below how you're getting on and how your paint is faring. And then now that this has had around about 10-15 minutes to warm up, you can see that our temperatures are about 54 degrees on the CPU, 62 on the GPU. So absolutely nothing to worry about whatsoever. Here's your noise test. Basically completely silent, no issues whatsoever as long as it's tuned. Yeah, just a bit melancholy really, bittersweet. I absolutely love what we've created here. I think it looks absolutely fantastic and Hyte have almost nailed it. Just a couple of tweaks and I think this would make it so much better, but it's the main one really for me being the fact that paint chipping away that easily in my eyes is not good enough. But we'd love to hear your thoughts. Let us know down in the comment section below. Smash the like button if you've enjoyed this. Get yourself subscribed if you haven't already. It massively helps out and you get these videos delivered straight to your inbox. And of course, if you do want to check out current pricing on this case or anything that was featured in this build, you can find it listed down below with our affiliate links. And while you're down there, why not check out Intel's epic holiday bundle? Whenever you buy a product with a qualifying Intel Core Ultra CPU or Intel Arc graphics card, you can land yourself one of the biggest games for free, with Battlefield 6, Civilization 7, Dying Like the Beast, or Assassin's Creed Shadows all up for grabs. So why not land yourself a shiny new Intel Arc B580 with a whopping 12GB of VRAM, an Intel Core Ultra powered laptop, or an Intel Core Ultra desktop CPU that's perfect for both work and play. Learn more today with the link down below. But thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.